Welcome in. It'll be an outstanding Thursday. Looking forward to it. Ja came back, and he did Ja things. And the Grizz win their season opener against New Orleans, although it was a struggle. And that was against a team that's really not that good beyond Zion and maybe Jones. I don't see a lot of trouble there. Queen's not a bad player. We saw him in the NCAA tournament. But my goodness, it shows you that they miss Edie. They miss Brandon Clark. There's two guys that will bolster that front court because when Jaren Jackson Jr. is not in, like at the end of the game when he fouled out, and what was Isolo thinking of allowing him to stay in the second quarter after he picked up his third? Because you could say, oh, I trust him. He's got to learn how to play through that, but he doesn't. It's not like he's new. He's been around a while. That was worrisome, but in the end, Ja did his thing, took over the game at the right time, just like Zion did. It was great to see those two, 1 and 2, 6 years ago in the draft, come to the front and really play well. And boy, does Zion look different. He's lost all that weight. I do believe that will lead to not just career longevity, but it will also lead to more games played in the season. Congratulations to him. Tigers football braces for their toughest test this year. And it's must win. If there's one thing they lost in the game at Birmingham, it is any margin for error. I've already told you we're going to talk about this at the end of the program with Jarvis Kerr. He joins us every Thursday. The Bulls have this incredible bulk and experience in the trenches. That is where Alex Goshen, their coach, decided to put NIL money. If you look at their entire defensive front, that's 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers because they play a nickel. They're all grad students, and they're big. And the same thing with the offensive line. Every offensive starter on the line in the trenches is a grad student. They've been around 5 or 6 years. Scary stuff. And then this particular nugget to make you even more scared. The Bulls, in their last 4 games, they scored 63 in one of them, have averaged 57 points per game. So they averaged 41.5 on the year and like 475 yards per game. They did put 50 on Memphis 2 years ago at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. They didn't have their quarterback Brown last year, and they scored a field goal. That was it. So this one, going to be interesting. It opened at 1.5, and everybody thinks it's going the other way because the line is at 4.5. We will talk with Jarvis Kerr about that. We'll talk about the Grizzlies' opening win with Pete Pranica. That comes your way in just a little bit. And then in the middle, we'll talk college football, including the Memphis and USF game with the sporting news. Great college football writer Bill Bender, who's actually ranked the 7 coaching jobs that are now open. I'm going to ask him why he thinks there are 7 open jobs at Power 4 schools in the middle of the year. But the story this morning, it's mind-boggling. You have 2 NBA personnel. One's a head coach in Portland and the other a player. Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, among 31 arrested in a federal gambling-related investigation. The U.S. Attorney Joseph Nacella Jr. said the suspects allegedly used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from secretly rigged underground poker games. Thank goodness this is not rigging games and scores, because that would be an incredible nightmare for Adam Silver in the NBA. But apparently, the head coach of the Trailblazers, Billups, and the guard, Terry Rozier of Miami, were among 31 people that were arrested really early today And there are two fraud indictments. One involves sports betting, the other federal gambling-related problems, an investigation that involved listen to this, 4 of the 5 most notorious mafia families. The alleged operation and sports rigging deal spanned years, said FBI Director Kash Patel, noting the FBI worked across 11 states to make arrests on charges that range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, and illegal gambling. The fraud is mind-boggling, Patel said, noting the tens of millions of dollars in fraud are involved. Again, the U.S. attorney said that the suspects used high-tech cheating technology. Can't wait to find out how all this worked, to steal millions of dollars from secretly rigged underground poker games. And the games were backed by the Bonanno, the Gambino, and the Genovese crime families. Rozier and Billups, along with former NBA player Damon Jones, who played for the Cavaliers, were among those that were arrested in Vegas. Tommy Gallardo was also arrested this morning, an FBI spokesman said. New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said those former players were allegedly involved in a scheme involving fraudulent NBA bets that was dubbed Operation Nothing But Net. So Rozier, who joined the Heat from Charlotte, was arrested this morning in Orlando. He will appear in federal court today. Not immediately clear if Billups was arrested, but he's set to be arraigned later today in Portland. I got a feeling we're going to find out a whole lot more about this. And, you know, that last part does kind of bother you. At first, I did not believe there was betting on games here, but now, I don't know, this nothing but net operation makes you think maybe there was. If there is, this problem becomes even bigger. This tied in with the NCAA. There's a couple of things the NCAA has said in the last couple of days that really are crazy. One is that pros are now allowed to come back. If you were a G Leaguer, you weren't in the draft, and there are some people think that should be what the denominator should be, that if you were part of a draft, then you can't come back. But if you were never in the draft, even if you played in the G League and were paid as a professional player, because those in Europe, young key players were, that you should be allowed back. I think once you start playing and accept money as a professional, even though you are really a professional in the NCAA, maybe it is contradictory, but it does not feel right for me. Once you accept money as a pro player, you would think that would be it. That's it. You can't come back. Well, why not let Amani Bates, although he was in a draft, why not let Amani Bates come back? He went to the G League. He's not been successful. He just got waived. Why not let him back in? Crazy stuff, that's for sure. But the other thing is they are allowing college players, I guess this is America, if you don't bet on the product that you're involved in, you're allowed to bet on anything. And they just said college players can bet on pro sports. I was surprised at that. I guess I shouldn't be shocked. I think the G League thing, that guys who are declared pros can come back and play, that sits less well with me than, you know, you can bet on pro sports. But the minute you bet on college sports, now you got a problem. Interesting for sure as we sit in the Family Leisure Studios, that biggest spa sale. It's the world's biggest spa sale, really. It's still going on. You can get a state-of-the-art new spa that's beautiful for under $3,000. If you want a floor model, you get an even bigger discount. Oh, also, if you want the swim spas, that's like the swim in place where the jets can really get your cardio going. You get the level of resistance that you want. It's like a treadmill. It's 30% off, and cold plunges start at under $5,000. Please get there, because it probably will end once we hit November. So enjoy October and check out all the great spa deals going on at Family Leisure. It was a nice deal last night at FedEx Forum. Great crowd on hand. They saw the Grizz win. So I guess my first question for you, Pete Pranica, is do you think the Grizzlies will go 82-0?
No, I don't think so. even the most optimistic Grizzlies fan would not project 82-0. But it was a satisfying win. It was a win that came with some adversity and some difficulty. And I mean, New Orleans is not slated to be a playoff team, but you know what? A win's a win, and everybody was able to celebrate and see John Morant have another one of his fantastic opening nights, which he's made a habit of.
I was going to ask you about that. He averages, I didn't realize till I watched your broadcast, he averages 30 points per game in season openers. He had 35 last night, and he took the game over when it had to be taken over in the fourth quarter. Why is it you think he is so good on opening nights?
He likes the bright lights, I guess, and it's important for him to be able to deliver in the big moments, and season openers are big moments. And I think it was in and around the COVID year that he had the fantastic game against San Antonio. I think he went for 40-plus in that game. So, yeah, I mean, he just he likes the bright lights. He likes the emotion of making a strong positive impression and getting the season started on the right foot, I guess.
I will confess to you, sometimes you forget how good a guy can be. And I watched the exhibition games for the most part, and saw what the Grizzlies look like with him, and now last night, and then what they look like without him, and they are obviously a different team. The value that he has as a entity to this particular team, you have to watch it to really understand it. And I think we saw that last night. They're totally different if he's on the floor.
Yeah, without a doubt. People would ask me, what do you project for the Grizzlies this season? And my answer would be, can you tell me how many games John Morant will be able to play? When John and Jaren are on the floor together throughout their careers, the Grizzlies win 60% of the games. Okay, you take a 60% win percentage any day of the week, and so his ability to not only score, but the manner in which he scores, the energy with which he plays, the spectacular nature of how he is able to attack the basket, it's more than 2 points. It's an energy boost for his team. It's an energy boost for the building. If you're in a road building, it's deflating for those fans. So, he has an impact. You can look at his line from last night, 35 points, but so many high emotion plays and momentum plays that, like I said, it goes beyond the 35 points or beyond the 2 points for an individual basket. It really, there's a little extra something when he's playing the manner in which he played last night.
The other aspect that I liked about last night was the other side has a star like that who was taken in the draft 6 years ago, one spot ahead of Ja, and that's Zion, who lost all that weight, looks like a different guy who will be around all year long, you would think, with the loss of 20 pounds, and it's all muscle now that he's got. And he took over for New Orleans down the stretch, especially after Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out. There was nobody to rim protect, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. You look at the numbers, 27 points, but 9 boards, 5 assists, 5 steals. Really put together a very, very solid line. And what I think helped the Grizzlies is they took advantage of the non-Zion minutes as much as they could. What's interesting about this, you look at the box score, Morant and Williamson both finished with a plus-minus of 0.
Wow.
So they basically canceled each other out. But it was the Grizzlies bench, I thought, that did a remarkable job. But, yeah, just as much as I would say the ultimate success or lack thereof for the Grizzlies is dependent upon John Jaren's availability, the same can be said for New Orleans. And a little interesting, I think, by Willie Green, they never, with the exception of Fears off the bench, did not play with a true point guard. And the fact that Jose Alvarado did not play –
why? Nobody knew, right? No, that was never answered.
There was no injury. I'm looking at the box score right now. It simply says coach's decision, and maybe they want to give Fears a little bit of experience. But Jordan Poole's a shooting guard. He's not really a point guard. Certainly not a true point guard. So I thought that was a bit interesting.
You mentioned the plus minus. How about the rookie Cedric Coward, who I think was plus 24. People were wondering, could he shoot it all? And he comes in now. He wasn't a 3 guy, but he was a 2 guy, and he had 14 points. He was 5 for 5 from the line. Played tough defense, had a steal. His first bucket was off a steal and a cool finish. You looked at this particular game and you go, you know what? This guy might be the missing piece the Grizzlies were looking for.
Well, I always joke with fans. Zach Kleiman usually keeps a pretty cool poker face, but anytime you say, "Hey, tell me about Cedric Howard," you get a big grin. I mean, everybody in the organization, players, assistants, Zach Kleiman, they are all gushing about this young man. He has a tremendous presence just in interview situations, but he is very talented. You knew the shooting would come around. I mean, he shot a great percentage from 2 and 3 in limited action, understandably, at Washington State. So you knew that the shot was going to come around. And I've been talking with people around the Grizzlies organization, and they'll sit down with a laptop and look at the video and to show Cedric certain things, and he is almost a step ahead. He remembers the play. He knows what he did right or wrong in a given situation. High basketball IQ and really a high character guy, and great to see him excel. I mean, this is a guy in his first NBA game, and he's guarding Zion Williamson and doing very well with it. So very happy to see that, because I know the preseason was a bit rough. But again, here's a guy who was very, very limited over the summer, could not play summer league, and showed out very, very well last night.
So those are the positives. Jaren Jackson had 6 blocks. At one time he had 8. I don't know. They must have taken 2 away. And Coward. Some of the negatives, when Jackson went out and Landale had already fouled out of the game, you didn't have anybody up front. And that's where Edey and BC are going to make a difference. But you're not going to have them for a little bit. So that was a little troublesome. Plus, which I wonder, will Tuamas Isolo, the next time Jaren Jackson Jr. picks up his 3rd foul in the second quarter, if he'll keep him in the game? Because that was very, very iffy. What were you thinking when he kept him in?
You need your best players on the floor. And I thought Tuamas made an interesting point in his post-game comments. He said, well, if I take Jaren out, am I going to foul somebody else out? Who's replacing Jaren? And if you sit Jaren because of a foul count and you lose control of the basketball game because he's not on the floor, what have you done for yourself? The game could be too far out of hand by the time you put Jaren back in the game. And he admitted it's a balancing act. And a lot of people are pointing up the difference between Taylor Jenkins' philosophy and Tuamas' philosophy, at least the way that it played out last night. I think Tuamas plays as a coach a lot by feel, and felt that Jaren needed to be on the floor, because without him, and Brevin made the point during the telecast, you pretty much, with all the injuries, you need to have either Ja or Jaren on the floor pretty much all the time. You don't want to take both of those guys off the floor at the same time, particularly with the injury situation being what it is.
And he did that pretty much most of the game, right? I mean,
yeah,
that was the way he was trying to operate. I thought, obviously, the third quarter, 41-22 difference there. That's probably the difference in the game. And the other thing that I haven't heard many people mention, but the Grizzlies hit their free throws, and when they really counted, they ended up taking 43 free throws and making 35 of them. I think that's 81%. If I do my math correctly. And I don't think they missed one down the stretch when they had to have them. And Zion and New Orleans missed some in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and the Grizzlies didn't start particularly well. There were some struggles. Just looking at the box scores. But, yeah, I mean, you shoot 43 and 81%. I mean, you shoot 81% for the season, you lead the league pretty much. So, Caldwell Pope was 9 for 9. Morant was 7 of 8, hit him in the clutch, and huge free throws by Omax down the stretch as well. I mean, here's a two-way guy put into a big spot in a season opener, and he hits all of his free throws. That was very encouraging and fun to see.
When you think now, New Orleans is not, like you mentioned earlier, they're not going to be a playoff team most likely. Maybe they get in the play-in if Zion stays healthy, but what What I loved is that you still win this game and you're missing 4 key players, Edie and Brandon Clark, as we already mentioned. But let's not forget the backup point guard Pippen. He's not going to be around for a little bit. Ty Jerome looks like he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and he was going to be counted on heavily. You're talking about 4 guys out of, let's say, a 10-man rotation, maybe even a starter in there, and you're able to win games, at least the first one here. That's got to be a positive sign, I think, for this team. And obviously, Ja being the key.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, and you look at New Orleans, obviously they're without DeJounte Murray, but you look at their starters last night, Murphy, Williamson, Messi, Jones, and Poole. That would be their starting 5. And that's an NBA level starting 5 and should be very successful. But, the Grizzlies did a good job defensively, and you're glad you didn't walk away from this saying, well, it's a moral victory. We played really, really close, but we lost it at the end. It's proof of concept that this team will fight back. New Orleans struggled last year. I think they gave up 17 double-digit leads, which was second most in the NBA. Or I beg your pardon, the Grizzlies, I think, had the second most double-digit rallies in the NBA. But New Orleans had a history of giving up leads. So, it's a great start to the season, and now you got to try and build on it against a Miami team that is in a state of flux. They don't have Tyler Hero because of ankle surgery, and they go down to Orlando last night and they lose their season opener. So it'll be very interesting to see. You got to build on it. You want a game, great. You want to win the next game, so it's on to the next.
I thought two other positives for me were 1, 7 guys in double figures. You get that every night, you're going to be in every game. That's 1.
Right.
2, the way they played out of position, sometimes they didn't even practice that, according to Santi Aldama. So you had 7 guys who were really big contributors in this particular game, and some of them, like Aldama, once the 2 bigs were fouled out of the game, he had to play 5, and he said he hadn't even practiced it to 5. That's impressive that this team has a high IQ.
Without a doubt, and that's something that the Grizzlies are always looking for when they acquire guys. Are you guys that can learn a new system? And Tuomas has said these guys are, in his terms, building a library about how this team is going to play. I asked Jock Landale, because Jock played in Europe against Isalo coach teams, and I said, so is he running pretty much what he did in Europe? And Jock said yes, and I said, how different is this from the rest of the NBA? He said, it's very different. So guys are learning a brand new system. It's going to be a process. There are going to be nights when, they play really well, as they did in the third quarter last night, and then there are going to be quarters where they played, like in the first quarter last night, where they're throwing the ball all over the gym. So they settled in, and it's going to be a process because Tuomas' system allows a tremendous amount of freedom within a structure. This is not going to be, a Mike Fratello, for example, calling every play from the sideline.
Right.
This is going to be a little bit more freelance, read, react, make the extra pass. And for some of these guys, it's a brand new system.
I was going to say to you, this is the first game of Isalo as the permanent coach. And we saw his decision with Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm not going to take him out. I'm going to let him play, and he's going to have to learn how to play through all of this. Was there any other particular moment or philosophy that you noticed last night that differs from, say, a year ago?
I think his willingness to tinker and put some lineups there that, no, these 5 guys haven't played together. I was a little surprised that maybe P.J. Hall didn't get some run because of the rebounding situation. He's a guy, big body, give you 6 more fouls, get you some rebounds. I was a little intrigued to see that, that was not on the table. And frankly, the fact that Olivier Maxence Prosper got as many minutes as he did. He's a two-way player. He plays, Gigi Jackson doesn't. And Tuomas said, well, we felt that Omax would be a decent defensive matchup for Zion Williamson. And so, what you may see from Tuomas is I don't have a set rotation. I'm going to, go with whatever the game situation presents and not be wrote like, okay, well, at this period of time, we're going to sub these guys in or out. They're still in a data gathering process. And so, the lineups might look a little funky from time to time, but he's trying to figure out, because his whole philosophy, Dave, is based on what combination of players play best as a five-man combination. Mm-hmm. And I think they're still trying to gather data on that, and it's a little tricky right now because you have so many guys that you want to have on the floor, and they're not there.
You probably won't have them there for another, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. Anyway, good start, that is for sure. And I know they're home for the next 2 games, so you will be well rested, and we'll talk next Thursday.
Sounds good.
Excuse
Thursday,
me.
Sounds good.
I'm always messing that up. Yeah, that's consistent. Thank you much, Pete. We appreciate it.
You got it.
That's the voice on TV of your Grizzlies. That is Pete Pranica. We take a break. When we come back, we're heading to Columbus, Ohio. The great football writer for the Sporting News is Bill Bender, and he comes your way in just a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating, for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com. Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis has serious vans for serious work. At 4430 American Way, they are the Mid-South source for cargo, passenger, crew vans, and custom chassis. Need one or a full fleet? New or used, they've got it with fleet solutions and custom upfits. Certified techs keep you moving with fast maintenance, repairs, and a large parts inventory. Mercedes-Benz Van Center is your Sprinter Van headquarters. 901-237-9302 or sprintervans.com. Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis, part of the Tag Truck Center family, driven to keep you on the road.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
If the question is, where should we all go after work? The answer is always Bell Tavern. Bell Tavern, Memphis's perfect downtown neighborhood bar, not only has the perfect relaxed atmosphere you want in a bar, it also has an outstanding happy hour with $2.50 domestics, $3.50 imports, $3 well drinks, and $3 house wines, and $1 off of virtually everything else. Those are great prices at a great bar in a great location. So not only are we talking about everybody's favorite hang with ice-cold beers, signature cocktails, and the friendliest staff in town, we're also talking about great happy hour prices.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. We're headed to Columbus. Bill Bender's going to join us in a minute. He's brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a major deal. You're building that dream home. You've had this land maybe for years. Maybe you're looking for land. He's got it. Certainly he knows how to utilize whatever land that is given to make a modern palace. He's been doing it for years now. His dad started the company. He's got it. The third generation is in there. That's William. They see little details. They see big picture all at the same time. That's what a great builder has to do. And they got a track record. If you go and look for the last 75, 80 years and see what Ken Garland Custom Home Builders has done, you'll be amazed. And then you'll go, look, I got to talk to them. And they're fun to talk to because they will tell you exactly what you might need. It might be a renovation. You don't want to move. You love your older home, but you want modern amenities. There's nobody better than to put in the theater seating with the speaker in the walls and everything else of that nature, or the California closets, the island in the kitchen, the granite cabinet tops, anything you may need, they can do. Call it renovation with innovation. If it's new or it's renovated, they're the guys. That's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Our guy in college football, that's Bill Bender from the Sporting News. You wrote an interesting article this week about the 7 Power 4 openings that have taken place in the middle of the season, and you've rated them. We'll get into that in a second. My first question for you this morning, Bill, is why do you think there are 7 openings in the middle of the season? It seems to me, when I first started watching college football in the 70s as a reporter, there were never midseason firings. Usually it came the end of the year. Now we have all these in the middle of the season. Why do you think that is? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on, as always. I think some of it is start to the next cycle with the recruiting and the transfer portal, and you can back channel some things. And I do think we need to move maybe toward more of an NFL model where, we can't be doing that during the season. You can't be taking assistant coaches from other teams, and we're set till we're set. But James Franklin's firing in particular has kicked off a chain reaction of sorts that has led us to this moment. And I think they're going to be more. They're in the Power 4 especially.
Is it because it's such big business now? Here's my sense of it, is that you more and more have called upon outside sources, known as boosters, to go all in on particular aspects, and now you're asking not just for a weight room or a locker room or to supplement and make sure a coach gets paid now. What did Signetti sign for? $11 million a year,
right.
whatever crazy number it is. But now you gotta come up with a budget for revenue sharing for NIL. So you're really coming back to these guys all the time asking for more money. So they go all in and they figure, I'm all in, I better see some results. And if I don't get those results, like the James Franklin thing's the craziest thing in the world to me. We're talking about coach of the year. He's 3-0. And then he loses double overtime in Oregon and then 2 bad losses and he's gone? I mean, that's like crazy stuff.
Well, some of that might have been, I think, yeah, exactly. First of all, I mean, you have a 70% winning percentage, almost 697, and then you have 3 bad weeks, and it undoes a lot of things that he did well. The boosters, there was when Matt Hayes was doing the reporting on the Florida thing last week, and he said, Scott Strickland met with boosters who wanted to know what the vision for the future of the program. Those guys have a lot of sway now because they're paying the bills for this huge business that you're talking about. So, yeah, if the boosters are going to influence coaching decisions, I've said on your show and other shows all the time that this is the one sport governed by emotion. More than any other sport in this country, college football is governed by emotion, right? On every Saturday. We try to hire and fire guys every week, and that is never more true than it is now.
It is crazy. So you rank these, and I found your rankings interesting. As usual, this was not just subjective, but you dig into some analytics to back it up. But you've got Penn State as the number 1 job over Florida. I would think that those two would be pretty close. They're in the 2 best conferences, and so it's not a job where it's I got to tell you, I think Notre Dame is the easiest job in the world. You win 10 games, you can lose 2 early games like Notre Dame is, and then they had 1 tough test with USC, and now it's Cupcake City the rest of the way. They're probably going to make the playoff, and they don't have to play a tough conference schedule. So that to me is a pretty easy job in contrast to what Penn State and Florida are, because you got to play against Big Ten and SEC schools.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten and SEC schools are the best jobs because you have the most resources, right? So I think for me it was tough to pick between Penn State and Florida, on
Right.
one hand, Florida, you're going to have those top 10 classes. On the other, you got to go through all the SEC teams. Penn State, they, in theory, this year was supposed to be another year where, they should be a top 4 Big Ten school with the talent that they had. And if you're in the top 3 or the 4 in the Big Ten, you're going to get in the playoff every year. So, it's a matter of, like you said, we put some numbers and some things to it, but I do still think it's very subjective. Like you might think Virginia Tech's a better job than Oklahoma State, or somebody else might think it's the other way. The one I had trouble with, Dave, was UCLA and Stanford, because I can see the appeal and the drawbacks of both.
I was surprised you had Arkansas as third, because if you look at Arkansas, small state, not a lot of high school prospects, even though that's less and less important. But what have they really done in the SEC?
Fair. But what had Vanderbilt done before this year? What had Missouri done in the SEC? I guess they went to a couple SEC championship games. But, that's my point, though. An SEC job, you look at their recruiting classes. You can work with top 30 recruiting classes. Yeah, it's tough to coach in that place, but Brett Bielema won some games there. He had winning seasons there.
He
but
certainly didn't win enough, that's for sure.
Yeah, he didn't win enough to keep him happy. But, again, I'm taking the SEC job, the SEC money, the SEC recruiting classes. And Arkansas, I guess, they haven't won a national championship in my lifetime, but they have won one, right? That would go all the way back to that. I think it was that Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson team.
Mm-hmm. Southwest Conference back then, yeah. That was interesting to me. Virginia Tech, do you really believe Shane Beamer might take that job? Because it hasn't worked out so well. He made it clear that South Carolina was the job he really wanted. But in middle of a season, rhetoric gets thrown around a whole lot, and it hasn't gone his way at South Carolina. And Virginia Tech needs a savior. I don't think – where did you rate that one? You rated that sixth?
Mm-hmm.
Fifth.
Well, that's an identity program, though. Like the same as Oklahoma State, in my opinion. Now, somebody can come in and upset this theory, but, you look at Gundy. Look at Oklahoma State before and after Gundy. Look at Virginia Tech before and after Beamer.
Yeah.
You have to have and assert an identity, and just because Shane Beamer has the Beamer connection doesn't mean Virginia Tech. They have to have the other things in line. It kind of brings everything we were talking about full circle in some ways, because you have to have the boosters. You have to have the AD. You really have to have a general manager now, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because then you can allow your coaches to coach football. So if you have that organization in place, it makes it easier to win big.
Although, you know what? Bill Belichick put that in place at North Carolina, and it hasn't worked out so well.
Well, they got, again, but give it time. We're in a rush. If that was, John Summerall went to North Carolina and had that set up, we're giving John Summerall a little more time. Maybe not as much as we used to. I've always thought when you're hiring a coach, it should be a 5-year deal. Maybe it's 3 now.
It's 3 now. It's 3 now. There's no more 5-year deals.
But if you fire somebody in year 1, I guess in the NFL we can do that. But to me, you're just look at Florida, right? Since Urban Meyer, they haven't had a coach last more than 4 years.
I think if you look at Florida historically, Spurrier and Meyer, how many really have succeeded there? I've often thought, for programs that we think are unbelievably great, they're really, look at the history of it. It's not that outstanding. It's not Alabama by any means. It's not Ohio State or Michigan by any means. They've had a couple of really successful coaches.
Yeah, and hyper successful coaches that have done unbelievable. And for Florida, 14, he doesn't really know Steve Spurrier, right?
Right.
So, but this goes back to the Florida Penn State thing. He knows who Michael Parsons is. He knows who Saquon Barkley is. He knows who some of these Penn State guys, Abdul Carter, that was the last one, Tyler Warren, and Florida hasn't had those guys really since Urban Meyer left, and that's part of the issue there.
Yeah. Who do you think ends up in Florida? Who do you think ends up at Penn State? Or Arkansas, for that matter?
Well, Arkansas, I think they'll make a push for Rhett Lashley, who's done a fantastic job at SMU, and, they're going to – alma mater, as my editor Bill pointed out to me this week, by the way. 7 coaches in the top 25 are coaching at their alma mater.
Well, they may go after Alex Mortensen then. He played some quarterback at Arkansas.
He's off to a good start, right?
Yeah, he sure is.
I think Florida should call James Franklin. I really do. That would be my first call, unless the Lane Kiffin rumors get weird. If Lane were to want that job, I would definitely entertain it. Penn State, Matt Rule. Matt Rule makes the most sense and has made the most sense, but he's kind of really come out and said, I really love Nebraska.
I know.
It's a destination job. So if they can't get him, it's going to be hard to find somebody, in my opinion, that is every bit as good as James Franklin was.
I don't know why Lane would leave Oxford, honestly. It might have been something that would have been high on his list years ago, but he's a changed guy, at least by you look at the 30 for 30 they did on him. Mm-hmm. And he's got to go in at Ole Miss. And I don't think the expectations at Ole Miss are quite the same as they are at Florida. It's a little more realistic. I don't know why I'd go.
Yeah, that's a great point. I haven't watched that yet. But one thing about that, like if you look at the success that he's had over the last 4 years, I've kind of said, I don't know if I said it on here. I don't want to recycle material, but I do think they are the best program in the country right now that hasn't gone to the playoffs. So that's why this week's important. They got to get that Oklahoma win, make sure they can get 10 or 11 wins, and get this program into the playoffs.
I can't remember. How did you pick that? Because this is the last thing I'm going to do is you hardly ever pick Memphis in a game with USF, and I don't blame you the way you went. I want to break that down for just 1 second here in a minute. But you did have Ole Miss getting that game at Oklahoma, didn't you?
I do, and I like the offense. I think Trinidad Chambliss played well in his first road start, and it's going to be a back-and-forth game. One thing, though, these SEC teams, they're finding out that playing at Oklahoma is not easy. It's not easy. And so it's a huge game for them. But I do think, we've had upsets every Saturday. I'm trying to find 1 or 2 each week, and I could absolutely see Ole Miss winning that game.
All right, Memphis and USF, 11 o'clock on Saturday. You don't usually have them in your picks. I know you went with USF. I don't blame you. They're averaging 57 points the last 4 games. And they got some great wins, Boise and Florida, 2 to be exact. Their only loss was to Miami. Does Memphis have any chance by your reckoning?
Yes. I mean, they do. I mean, it's at home, like I said. It's a big game, and Byron Brown's the key. I mean, can he force a couple turnovers? He's been wonderfully efficient for them. Their linebackers are very good. Last week notwithstanding, it's not over for Memphis or Tulane or Navy. I mean, it could get wild here, and this is a chance to bounce back. So, Memphis back in the corner is definitely a dangerous team. But this South Florida team with Alex Golish, who, like Ryan Silverfield and John Summerall, are going to get some calls here very shortly with all these openings.
Yeah.
It's wide open and anything can happen. So I'm not ruling out a Tigers win here by any stretch.
Good. I hope we're talking about that next Thursday. Thank you, my friend. As always, a joy to speak with you. We'll do it again in a week.
Hey, Dave, thanks so much for having me on. Take care. Have a good one.
Bill Bender from the Sporting News. We do take the time out. When we come back, we go downtown. The Hall of Famer Jarvis Greer standing by. All smiles, Grizz win, and we got that game with USF. He'll be on the call with me on Saturday. We'll talk about both those things in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporting luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Maria's Cantina in South Haven is not your average Tex-Mex joint because they're serving up Mexican with a twist. Maria's Scratch Kitchen is the most creative and diverse menu around. Beyond the traditional huge quesadillas, chimichangas, and fajitas, Maria serves up hand-rolled Latin egg rolls, Cajun and Creole items like catfish, gumbo, and boudin balls, as well as the best sandwiches and 8-ounce burgers in town. Wash it all down with a house margarita for only $5.50 and happy hour every day till 6. MariasCantina.com, 6717 Airways, Mexican with a twist.
When I think about Memphis, I think local. And it doesn't get more local than ATC Fitness and Memphis Tiger Basketball. ATC Fitness has been a proud supporter for years of Tiger athletics as well as Tiger cheer and pom squads. So when you want fitness, go local. Go ATC Fitness. Sign up online today at atcfitness.com. ATC Fitness, exercise your right to look good, and go Tigers.
ATC Fitness, exercise your right to look good.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time. The next time you're out to dinner with friends, you can order the shrimp cocktail for the table. And maybe you'll realize it only comes with 4 shrimp after you've already given away 3, but that one shrimp will be so good. And if you switch and save hundreds, you can get shrimp all the time. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for shrimp. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Just listening a minute ago to our good friend Spencer from ATC Fitness. They are now a part of the Sports 56 family. It's local. They've got 18 locations for you to reach your fitness potential. Easy to sign up online, atcfitness.com. All 24-hour gyms have exactly what it takes to help you reach your fitness potential. So go on, head over there. They're all beautiful. They're all clean. They're local. They're all about Memphis. ATC Fitness. Exercise your right to look good. We head downtown momentarily. Our friend Jarvis Greer, who I've already spoken with this morning, he is going to join us, and I know he was all smiles because he had to be happy about that win last night and got to be concerned about the up-and-coming game with this juggernaut. You heard Bill Bender talk about USF, and I've talked about their experience. They're good. I got to give Alex Gushin a lot of credit because he got NIL money, and the 3 schools in the American that absolutely are spending money on NIL are Memphis, USF, and I think USF might have the biggest budget, and Tulane. Those are the 3. And last year, after Brown got hurt, Alex Goshen decided he was really going to dig deep, and he was going to spend in the trenches, and that's what he's done. And if you look at their numbers, my gosh, They are really solid. Experience from power fours and girth and quickness. They have great team speed. So it is going to be a chore for the University of Memphis. Now we got our coaches meetings coming up, and as I look at this thing and think about it, you're going to have your skill players step up. And I worry about that because we don't know about Brandon Lewis. He did not finish the game. Can a freshman, either one, whether it's Hill, who came in as a surprise over Arrington Maiden, or if it's Maiden, who we know can run, but can he really pass against this team? And they do yield some yards passing. They don't yield. They give up only like 113 yards on the ground. So you're going to have to really mix it up against this team. Can any of those three, Lewis not 100% if he plays, we don't know. It looked like it was a knee to me. A.J. Hill, who I thought was really good, but he's a freshman. That was the first game he's ever played. Maiden hasn't played in very many games either. He did come in a pressure-packed situation with Arkansas, but he ran the ball. So can they step up? Can DeWozier, who just got let you know that this guy wears a boot until he gets on the playing field. So he's not 100%. He himself said he would have gotten the end zone. We'll never know. If he'd have been 100% healthy, that would have tied the game up last week in Birmingham. But can they play? Because this is a physical team they're going to face. And if we think about it, it's must win. Because the one thing the Tigers lost in Birmingham, without a doubt, was margin for error. You could lose one game, still get to the championship game, and all would be right, but could only lose one game. And this was the game they lost. So now, if you think about it, they have to be the Dragon Slayers because they've got to win all 3 games at home, thank goodness, where they have I believe it's a 10-game home winning streak, and the 4th best home record since 2014. So there is magic to Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Make no mistake about that. But they're going to have to beat USF, then Navy, and then Tulane. And all 3 of those schools are undefeated in the league. So you do that, and there's no damage done from Birmingham. But that's a big ask. That's what you've got to do. And that's the position that you have put yourself in. So we'll just see how all of that plays out, and we'll get the sense of it 2 hours before the game when we find out who the quarterback will be. Because if it's not Lewis, now you're going to have to figure out a way, and you're going to have to pass the football because this team shuts down running games. As good as Sutton Smith and Greg DeWozier may be, A.J. Hill's not going to run the football. So we'll wait. We'll see. I was also going to talk a little bit about last night's game, and I know that Jarvo has to be pleased with the Grizzlies, and we talked a lot about that with Pete Pranica earlier. The thing that most impressed me, again, was Ja. And I know, Landon, we haven't seen that much of Ja the last 2 years.
No, I think last night was only the 10th time that Ja and Zion have faced off since they've been drafted.
Yeah, well, they play 4 times a year, right? So they've played 5 years. This is their 6th year. So that would be 20 games. I don't even think it was 10. I think it was like 8 times.
Well, I think it was 9, but last night I think
last night
10.
was really?
I think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
It's anywhere from 8 to 10. We'll
It's
agree.
still low.
We'll agree on that. It's not even half.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing: you forget, or I have forgotten, the difference that John Morant makes in a team. He's that kind of a player, and I think it was Santi Aldama who said he's like 1 in a million. I mean, the Bulls had a great team in the 80s with Michael Jordan, right? I mean, it was a great team. There's no denying how good they were. But Michael Jordan was the key. Scottie Pippen was, one of the top 50 players of all time, I believe.
One
Right?
of my favorite players.
And you always had great role players, from Paxson to Kerr to, there was a rebounder that was going to be there, whether it was Dennis Rodman or trying to think of the first guy was a really good player, and the Bulls traded him, and I never could figure that out. But they got Rodman to replace that role. So they always had, and they had a screen setter with some big, and so they all played their roles, and it was Michael and Scotty that were the keys to the whole thing. And I just had forgotten, honestly, how Ja could take over a game. And that's exactly what he did. He just came in, and in the fourth quarter, he said, okay, it's my time, and you can't stop me. And he did it all kinds of ways. He even hit a three. That is not his forte, but floaters. And I love, because this is going to keep him healthier, how he's figured out once you get inside the paint, and you elevate, they're not stopping your little floater. And he hit floater, or he hit it off glass. He had one critical play that was off balance, off glass, teardrop. What a pretty shot that was that kept them up 4. But his ability to take over a game and make his team different, in all honesty, because we haven't seen glimpses, but not the whole package, the last 2 years. It just showed me last night, or reminded me last night, just how special this guy is.
I'm right there with you. I think last night you also saw who I was talking with a guy that I went with yesterday, that Cedric Coward was one of the most electric players on the field last night. I think he was playing one of the best defensive games I've seen from a Grizzlies player in a really long time. He was flying all over the court. He looked really, really good, and I think it shows that the Grizzlies are doing really good with their draft picks. You look at last year with Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, how they were both front runners for Defensive Player of the Year before, everybody else started taking that away from them. Injuries obviously impacted them, but Cedric Coward looked amazing last night. I mean, he was flying all over the court, and I think he was that spark that we needed for this Grizzlies team, because there's a lot of times you look at this team and it seems like we're notorious for coming out of the gate slow. We're notorious from playing from behind, and it usually takes us a while to get our engines going. But last night, I think when you had him, Jalen, and Caldwell Pope out there, we just looked like animals flying all over the court.
I'll say this: he's not going to go 5 for 5 every game, and he didn't take a 3.
I don't think so.
So I'm optimistic about Coward. One game does not totally sell me.
No, but I like what I saw.
But I think there is the potential there. But I also think hurry up Edey and hurry up Brandon Clark, because when Jaren Jackson went out and Lendale was already out of the game, they both fouled out. No rim protection whatsoever, and a lack of rebounding is going to hurt. But they did get the W. They could go 82-0. Don't count on that, though. Just,
It's in the cards right now.
Oh, yeah. I know.
We started off on the right foot.
And that'll do it for us. We apologize. I don't know what happened to Jarvis Greer. We'll get to him next week. This portion of the show brought to you by Shell Dunn. Shell Dunn, Rosengarten, Marks, Bensdorf. He's now got 4 homes under contract. And Shell Dunn says you could be next. There are 2 in East Memphis. One is in Germantown, and one is on the busiest, or one of the busiest streets in town. In the past, he sold homes on Poplar, Walnut Grove, and Park Avenue, and the only thing missing was having one on the interstate, until someone called him about their home backing up to I-240 near Walnut Grove, which he also sold. I saw that house. Actually, I think it was a very cool house. He's just one of those guys that makes it happen, wherever your home is located, from downtown to midtown to Germantown or Collierville. Talk to 2 or 3 agents. Just make sure he's one of them. He's got that highly successful strategic marketing program that makes the difference in what you make and when you make it. Reach him at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. Remember, people say you want the job done, you call the guy that gets it done. He's not playing golf. He's terrible because he's too busy selling your house at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. That'll do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. Have a great day, everyone.